Hi, everybody. Welcome to Embodiment Q&A. And today we're going to be talking about facial expressions and the fact that they don't lie. So welcome. Great to see you here. And Ebisheila's waiting in the wings. We're going to, first of all, look at a voiceless video. This is a huge topic, facial expressions. I've studied them for years and years. As a non-verbal communication teacher, which is what I did a lot of here in Japan, because gestures and facial expressions here are very, very different to Westerners and to people in, English-speaking societies and communities and so on. So, yeah, I'm completely fascinated by the muscles of the face. But more importantly, I'm interested in the top joint of the spine. It's called the atlas joint. We're going to look at it in a video in a moment. Atlas, you'll remember, was a god who held the world up on his shoulder. So the atlas joint is right at the top of your spine, and it's actually a pivot point. So the skull balances on it. And after great research, we've now uncovered the fact that human beings have more than 10,000 facial expressions and different orientations of the head, which, of course, renders them absolutely master communicators. And of course, we are. We have consciousness, we have this extraordinary equipment to communicate very complex things and to read them in each other too, which is also incredibly complex. And animals can't do that on the whole. Some primates can, but not to the extent we can. And primates have maybe 200 or 300 possible orientations of the head and neck and back. We have 10,000 and counting. So it's really exciting area. And I'd like to talk now for the next few weeks about non-verbal communication in general, but more essentially about the face and the way the shoulders, upper shoulders, neck and head work together. So let's start off by, I'll share my screen and let's watch the video to get some information. I'll go slowly with it. There's quite a lot of information on it. And if you want to take notes, please do. But of course, this will be available in replay. And I'm also going to be publicizing this slideshow video independently, so you can watch it again. So don't worry too much, just enjoy it and pay attention and you'll learn a lot. Okay, here we go. So let me share my screen. Okay, so here we are back. Just let me check the chat. Oh, we've got no sound. Is that right? Oh, well, actually, Ebby, there wasn't any sound there. Let me bring Ebby in. Let's talk to Ebby. We've got maybe a technical problem, but let's bring Ebby in. There you are. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. How are you? Can you hear? No.
Okay.
Oh. Something strange is happening.
I can't hear you. I don't know why. It's working on LinkedIn, but I can't hear you.
Right.
I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you.
I might try going out, coming back in. I don't know.
Well, maybe I should.
I can't hear you. I don't know what to do.
Just a moment. So, everybody, I don't know if you can hear me. So, yeah, I think I'll go out. I'll go out.
Oh. Something strange is happening. I can't hear you. I don't know why. It's working on LinkedIn, but I can't hear you. Right. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you.
So I can hear me on LinkedIn when it's done.
Hi. Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, great. Super duper. Great. Sorry, everybody. Welcome, LinkedIn members and YouTubers. I don't know what happened there. We have these occasional blips on StreamYard, but it's okay now, I think. So let's get started. I hope you enjoyed the video. And there was no sound on the video apart from a little bit in the actual video, not the slides, but the video. So hopefully it was okay. Yeah. So Ebby, what did you think of it?
A lot of learning from me, because I notice other people's, but haven't actually paid attention to mine. And so I love that exercise at the end, because it made me more conscious of what's going on within me. So many learnings in there, because I was so worried about the sound. I wasn't really focusing a lot. But
sorry.
Yeah,
Thank you.
But it says you said the body recognizes. Oh, I can't hear you now.
Oh, I'm not speaking.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
I'm letting you speak.
Okay. So the most visible dashboard is the nervous system. And yeah, that is true, because even though sometimes our words are rehearsed, our facial expression shows things. But I notice other people's, but I haven't noticed mine. And I guess I need to pay more attention to my facial expressions, and maybe follow, the exercise you had at the end. So it helps me to be able to regulate my nervous system.
Good.
Yeah, because the truth, the body always speaks the truth. And you can notice, and like you said, it's not for us to correct, but it's to notice the incongruence with people. And if you're not feeling safe within, so if the person's not feeling safe within them, maybe because of what's going on with our conversation, it's nice to be able to notice that incongruence so that I can make a correction, at least at my end. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. So, yeah.
Great. Okay, good. Thank you. Yes, there's an awful lot in the video, and I really wanted to just give an overview of the next few weeks, because I would like to go into more detail. I should tell you that I've spent the last 30 years really teaching communication skills to foreign performers of English, and latterly in Japan 20 years. And Japan was definitely the biggest challenge of my career because of the cultural differences, and because in Japan we don't express things on the face very much in public. People in private do, of course, but there are certain stances that Japanese people have in public. And so they, actually, when you try to teach them communication skills, they find it really difficult because they don't know how to make eye contact because it's not culturally, acceptable. They don't know how magical their smile can be because their face is closed. Now, this is really interesting, I think, from the historical point of view, because, as you know, I think Japan was closed to all foreign countries everywhere for 230 years. Sekkoku was this period of time. No foreigners were allowed in, and if they did get in, they were executed straight away. So for 200 and odd years, Japanese people had no outside influences really to speak of. And it was during that time that they stopped displaying emotion, deliberately stopped doing that, because they didn't want to be like foreigners. They wanted to be different. So it's actually quite an interesting history. And yeah, in fact, their muscles, the muscles of their face, are really weak because they don't really use them so much except when they're alone. And so I had to take my students to the face gym every class and and get them really strengthening up their muscles. It's a very interesting time. But yes, my interest has always been that, as research also shows very strongly, up to 92% of many utterances are nonverbal. So, in other words, you may say quite a few words, but they don't count in terms of raw communication. What your opponent is reading is not your words, usually. It's your facial expression, your body language, your proximity to them, all sorts of other things they're reading. And we do that so skillfully. Human beings do it so skillfully, so complicated, but we do it beautifully, usually. So yes, basically then, I think for most leaders and people in business, it's really, as you say, Abby, you notice other people's facial expressions, maybe. But I think it's really good for us to notice our own too. And so I very carefully in the video advise you that you should look at your own face before you start to examine the faces of other people, because once you really know these muscular movements do for you, then you can start to really feel them in other people, not just observe them. So, you get a real kind of deep insight into what other people are doing with their facial muscles. And of course, the magical thing is that the really clever criminals, con men and so on, they've mastered the art of not showing their true state through their face. And if we look back at some of the kind of hugely important and influential con men of our history, we'll see that they were very extraordinary people and very skillful to be able to mask what's really happening. So the face really, as you picked out from the video, is your dashboard, if you like, and the dashboard of other people you're talking to. And so we should never underestimate what power that has. A really good thing to do is to, I do this sometimes with some friends. I have a Zoom session with them, but I deliberately don't switch my microphone on. And I start to communicate just with my face, and I kind of mouth words and see what they do. It's really fun. And they do it too. And so we realize that we can communicate without the words. But what do the words add? What do the words add to this amazing cornucopia of different expressions and eye gazes and head orientations? And as we saw from the video, one of the most powerful things is the head position. So, you know, if you stick your chin forward like this, forward, then you're very aggressive. You're attacking. But if you put your chin up like this, then you're superior. You're proud. You're above your opponents. And of course, that applies to the eyes and the jawline, of course. But yes, if you tilt, you know, one of the most attractive things about dogs, I think, and cats to a certain extent, is that when you talk to them, they sort of go like this, you know. And that's another really interesting thing in Japan, because Japanese people do it too. If it's very interesting, if they've got a little problem, or something hasn't gone the way they thought it would, they will very often go, nani desu ka? They tilt their head. It's a sign of kind of masked panic, really, because what they created has gone wrong, you know. And so this little head tilt hides their sense of panic and disappointment and all of those negative states. So Japanese people are great at hiding their inner state. They really are. So yeah, just to fill in a bit more background with my students, I really gave them the basics of nonverbal communication. And we spent 13 weeks in a semester. We would spend 3 weeks on the face. And they would come and learn new expressions. We'd have mirrors and so on. And then they'd go away again and come back, and then we'd use them. You know, they loved it. They loved it. You can imagine. The whole thing from the beginning to 18, 19, 20-year-olds. It's really interesting. But yeah, we had a great time, and they loved learning how to do this, and didn't do it naturally at all. So for me, it was a fabulous time to teach these skills, which babies learn immediately. You know, within 18 months, a baby, if it's developing normally, will have a huge range of facial expressions that they're in control of. Of course, some of them they're not, like kind of wind and so on, you know, the kind of gas smile that sometimes neonates have. But yeah, they learn those expressions right away. And of course, they're mirroring their parents very often, or their siblings or whatever. So when you learn a second language, and especially a language as different to Japanese as English is, then you have to learn all the nonverbal stuff that goes with it. So I think that there's a great deal for us to use in our own communication in terms of head orientation, breath. And as you saw from the video, some head orientations don't allow us to breathe so well. So if you drop your chin too far because you're withdrawing maybe, then it really contracts and compresses your upper lung area. So you don't breathe very well. So it has a huge impact on how we behave, how we perform, not using that word in the inauthentic way of performing, but authentic performance. And so if we could learn to be authentic, then in our native language, of course, then we would be able to communicate authentically. That follows, doesn't it? If you're being authentic and your states are, you're in connection with your states, you're in control of your various states, then your face will show that. But if you're not, it won't. It's as black and white as that. And I can tell immediately if someone is presenting or something like that, if they are authentic or not, from various head orientations. It's fascinating. So yes, imagine you've got 10,000, over 10,000, and each one has a significant effect on your opponent or on your group or whoever you're communicating with. So that's a little bit of background to this, but I think that working with the non-verbal side of things is just as important as working with the verbal side of things. So, of course, as you know, as an embodiment person, I work with script, and I can help people to change their script if it's not serving them. And that can often bring about huge transformation and healing and so on. But also, we can do the same with non-verbal communication elements, like the face, like the voice, like body language. And thus, we become more effective, more sincere communicators. So, Debbie, any questions so far? I'm ratting on here, but you
you brought up some really can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, you brought up some really fascinating things, and the one that really struck me was the baby's one, because I remember when we had the masks on, and we don't really we haven't really seen the effect of that yet. I met a 2-year-old. So I met a 2-year-old, and he was really frightened of us because his mom had said he had never seen anybody else without a mask apart from her and her mom. So he was frightened. And now you've said that, I kind of thought, yeah, because all those expressions, different expressions that we were all using, the child had never seen it. I mean, after 3 days, he was okay, because then he saw us continuously. But the first time, you could see the shriek and the fear in his face, just seeing us. You don't realize how important these expressions are to a baby coming to the world, because it's the first time they're seeing that, and they're learning they start to learn their communications from how we approach them. So that really stuck out. I mean, another thing that really amazed me when you said about the smiling in Japan. So if you don't use your face muscles, it will weaken. So if you look at that, think about that baby. The baby, okay, his mom's probably smiles to you, so it does smile, but you can think that a lot of muscles not being used in that condition where they were not mixing. So having to develop, but luckily at a younger age it's easier to do. And then you talked about the 10,000 facial expressions, and I'm kind of thinking, and also you mentioned, and I think the non-verbal communications is actually more important, because the thing with verbal is that verbal is based on our baggage, our paradigm. So when I hear words, it's like what my background, my background that's influencing those words. Whereas if I'm able to observe their facial expressions, I might think they're being aggressive in their words, but their facial expression is not showing aggression, because of culture. Sometimes to another culture, words might seem aggressive, but it's not really aggressive in that culture. But by looking at the facial and observing the facial expression, I could understand that that person was not being aggressive. So this is really, really great, and I'm glad we're going to talk about it for a few weeks. It's a very big topic.
Great. Yes,
and I'm really excited to learn, and I will start to really observe my
good.
I'll tell you the difference from week to week. I will explain to you what I've done. So next Friday, I'll talk about how I changed.
Okay. Okay, great. Look forward to it. Yeah. So yes, I think that of course we don't want to go too deeply into the anatomical aspect of things if people are not into that. But I think just a basic understanding of the structure of the face and the main muscles is really useful when you're observing other people. And of course, once you learn about this, when you watch a film or a TV program, you're watching for these certain expressions. And Abby, I told you about this great series on Amazon Prime.
Yes.
Which is called Lie to Me. Which is Tim Roth, who's a really strange but wonderful guy acting. It's a drama, as I said to you. It's fascinating. They've got 3 seasons of 12 cases in each. So there are 36 cases, and although they're fictional, they're based on reality, and they are reconstructed, if you like. So it's just amazing because, of course, culture is a big thing in this. And one episode in fact, on Monday, I watched this episode about a Korean wedding. So this Korean ambassador in the States, was his son was getting married to an American woman. And so it was a big deal, big, rich wedding. And the ambassador had death threats from someone. So there were FBI agents all around the place protecting him and so on and so forth. But they decided to call in Cal Lightman, who is Tim Roth, who is the expert on facial expression. So they called him in to check that there were no people ready to assassinate the ambassador in the wedding party. So Cal and his 3 associates, all trained up on identifying these muscles, were walking around trying to find a very particular expression. Because when somebody's going to physically attack somebody else, then very strange things happen. So their brow furrows like this, they stick their chin forward, and they narrow their eyes. It's a very specific facial expression. So they were going around, they'd memorized this particular face, and they were going around looking at everybody's face very carefully to find. And they found it. So one of the guests had that exact face. So they immediately arrested him. The police came in, and the whole wedding stopped. And yeah, he confessed he was just about to kill the ambassador. And that was his kind of brief, and he'd been paid a lot of money to do it and all of this. So Cal Lightman could really essentially find criminals before they act. And that's what he's employed to do by the FBI, by the Secret Service, by all sorts of people in this series. And this, to me, is a kind of a reality. We can do this. We know about how the body works in the same way that we know, how the stomach works, how the joints work. we know how the face works. And so for me, you know, the future could be very bright if we had more awareness about our facial expressions, and if we realized the association with trust. So on Wednesday, we talked about trust, the inner trust in your body as your business plan, the masterclass. And Ebby was there. And really, trust is a state. It's not a thought. It's not a calculation. It's not a summary. It's nothing that this brain can do, this limited but brilliant but limited mind, as I call it. Trust, it comes nowhere near it. And so when people say they earn trust, they have, oh, I have to earn trust, it makes no sense. Or they have to measure trust, or they have to grow trust, or any of this, because it's not something you can control with the limited mind. Trust is an inner state, and it's in your DNA, it's in your nervous system, born with it. Babies are so trusting usually, unless they're disturbed in some way. They trust everybody, you know. So we're born with the state of trust, and then gradually it gets compressed and pushed away, and, you know, we start not to trust. And of course, we have disappointments in life and so on. But my point here is, I'm not going completely mad. I want to make the point that if we are really authentic, we're really being ourselves, truly living our true nature, and not performing, not covering anything over, not masking anything, then people see trust on your face. You know, people around you will actually see it in your eyes. And we can read all these states. We read them beautifully, but we've lost contact with our inner selves. And so we are no longer able to.
I lost you again.
Oh dear. Let me make this smaller. Not okay now. So not concepts, you know. So I think this has huge implications for authenticity and for presence. Somebody who's really present is really trusting. And you can see the expressions of trust on that person's face and in their eyes. Because presence is essentially about trusting other people, isn't it? And being now and here. And so I think this has huge implications for the business sector, for all professional sectors, really. So what do you think, Ebby? Do you think this is really important for the business community, for our work out there on the internet?
Definitely. I think I like what the last thing that you said about trust, being in the present, because I talk a lot about this too. So because we expect people to we're always looking outward. So we're a lot of times we're in performance mode, you know, so we're performing to try and impress. So, yeah. But whereas if we have this self-trust and we trust, then we're in the present moment of not acting, of behaving. We're in the present. And so we're more effective. And I think a company can get more out of its people if the people understand trust and be present in what they're doing at the time that they're doing it, as opposed to trying to perform to impress, which seems to work, but in the long term doesn't really work. Might cause burnout to the individual, might cause unhealthy competition within the environment, you know, so it causes some negative things. But whereas if you're present and you have the self-trust, like we talked about in the body is your
business plan.
Your body is your business plan. Yeah. So yeah, I think you mentioned being present, and I think that's a key. And we can come back into presence by noticing what's happening in our body through taking deep breaths and just focusing on getting that clarity. So when we jump out of it, we can calibrate ourselves back. And with time, it becomes like with you, it's part of you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Well, it is already part of us. It's already there, you know. So as I mentioned with babies, they trust. And gradually that gets damaged, and they stop trusting, and then they have to learn some strategy or other to compensate for that loss of trust. Are you okay? Are you having problems?
My computer is about to die.
So
I'm just getting the charger.
Oh, I see. Oh, don't worry. So yeah, I'll witter on for a bit longer then, until you're back. So yes, you're back. Okay. Oh, good. So yeah, I think in the video you could see various illustrations and examples of how the words that people say may not reflect their inner state. And, you know, this is where we begin to see fracturing of trust, you know, because we are so adept at reading other people's states, usually, that we immediately find some kind of conflict there. So if the words that are coming out of that person's mouth don't reflect their inner state or what their body is doing, we notice that. We do notice it. And of course, that could be, I'm only postulating here because we can't really measure it, but it could be the basis of learning distrust. You see some kind of incongruence there. And so you pull back from trusting this person because they are not aligned. And I think this happens in business a lot. And I think it happens with leaders a lot. I've been talking to quite a few people this week about leaders who are kind of breaking down and freaking out and so on. And very often the team is getting mixed messages from the person. You know, their vocal quality, their body language, their facial expressions are not matched with their words. So this can really generate a disconnect for a team because they can't see the authenticity. So it's really fascinating that we can detect this incongruence, but we don't do it overtly. We just have this feeling, you know, that this person is not quite trustworthy or not quite for us, or whatever however we may try and explain it away. And so if we could relax enough to be truly authentic, and if in fact we can connect with our true nature, because most people cannot these days, then it would have a tremendous effect on everybody we talk to. And in Your Body is Your Business Plan, the title was Inner Trust Equals Outer Wealth. We didn't get round to talking about the outer wealth part because we got so interested in the trust part. So we're going to do part 2 next week. But yeah, basically, you can see that the outer wealth idea is where we become magnetic. We are radiating our true nature and proud of it, you know, very happy to be ourselves. And this is a magnet for opportunities, for wealth itself, because the universe is responding. So if you are radiating all this lovely, authentic, natural energy, then the universe responds. And of course, that's another big, interesting question, because there are certain laws of the universe that dictate our lives, that run our lives. And as a Buddhist, I'm very much in touch with things like karma and so on. And of course, all that's for another time, but it all comes together to make great sense, I think. So, Ebby, any questions for me?
Yeah, I agree. If we understand the way things work in the universe and understand that the connection with ourselves, it does help. I'm not Buddhist, but I've been learning, I guess, some bits of the training, and really being able to understand how nature works. And it's kind of like clockwork. Everything is working together. So we need to understand what's going on inside, and I think the body is just a key, and it gives us symptoms when we're going off track, and it tells us when we're happy, because then we feel good about it. When we're upset, so now with the facial, I think this is really great, that exercise that you did at the end, noticing when you're talking, observing yourself, observing the other person, so that the communication is because there's also rapport going on. So sometimes, actually all the time, especially if you're in a more senior position, so your body language dictates the response that you get, or even in personal relationships. So being aware of your body language, which is, you said, 92% non-verbal, which is really high. So words are almost meaningless, really.
This is it. I mean, of course, we can say words in a meaningless way, but of course, if we're skilled, we can use vocal tone.
The tone,
Speed is a really important one.
But that's not what is it. That's part of, because words are the what you speak, but like you said, with the words, use the tone, the speed.
Yeah, the speed, the register. And this is what, as a language teacher,
what do you mean by the register?
Oh, register. Now, that's an interesting one. Register is to do with your status. So, two people might say the words, I love spinach. Okay, that's as an example. If you're high status, if you're an ambassador or a queen or a CEO or something like that, then the register you use is the level, the range of tone that you use. Register is really tone, will be really different from somebody who is, a nursery nurse or something like that. Someone of lower status. Well, I don't think they're lower status, but the world thinks they're lower status. I think they're not. But status can really affect our register, and of course we build into that. We don't see it so much in English these days, but we see it in Japanese all the time, because we have honorifics. So honorifics in Japanese are where, if a young person speaking to an old person, they will use a particular formula to speak to them.
Respect.
Out of huge respect. I'm sure you've got this in African tribes too, Whereas if somebody is talking if equals are talking, they will use even different language elements to what they would use if they were talking to an elderly person or talking to a baby or something like that. So a register is very close to tone, and tone in pure terms really is the range of textures or the range of timbre that your voice has. And of course, nowadays, we've got a problem with that because people are sounding so hollow these days, because they're not connected. And so, as I experienced with some of my embodiment clients, I can immediately tell that they're not connected because the voice is so thin and hollow and so shallow in range. So if you're really embodied, your range is huge. You can go really from so low right up to pretty high. You've got this huge vocal range if you're embodied and if you're breathing properly. Breath is important too. So register and tone are very important, especially if your native language is not the one you're learning. And so you have to learn how to do that. And so just as a basic example of English, we'll learn pretty soon that if they ask a question in English, then the tone at the end of the question has to go up. So, are you a teacher? Yeah. So English has these rising question registers.
Yeah.
And the answer is a descending tone, complete that little capsule, if you like. So that's just a very basic example. But those are matters of register and tone, which every language has. So, yeah, if you want to be really accepted in your community or in your group or whatever, you have to speak the language and use the tone of the general population of your group, and that will make you very accessible and very approachable and so on. So yes, it's really quite fascinating. The other thing that is really important, and I know you are fascinated by this, is self-trust. Because like many other things, like facial recognition, until we recognize our own face and our own facial potential in terms of expressions, then, we're not really going to be able to fully recognize those others. And so the same applies with trust and with, basically self-trust and nonverbal communication really go together. So if you trust yourself, then that means you're going to be authentic, you're going to be happy because you're being you and everyone accepts you as being you. You're going to be self-reliant, and you're going to show the world that through your face. It's very exciting, isn't it? I think
it is.
Amazing. Yeah. I know that people don't look at things this way, and I'm realizing that a lot of what I say is complete news to many people.
But it's great news. It is great news because I think we've reached a point now we're kind of at a loss. And I think this recognition, because I think we've been, over the decades, we've always looked for external validation and we've always looked for the outside. And now some of us, and I hope this spreads, I begin to realize that it doesn't come from external, everything comes from within. And the laws of nature, as it works, you experience what's within, really. I'm not saying that if bad things happen, it's your fault and that's why you've got it. But there's usually always a lesson to learn for everything. But generally, I'm talking generally now, apart from the exceptions, because there's always exceptions and things. And I'm not at that stage where I can understand why some awful things happen to people, because we don't know how everything is working, the energy and everything, and why people experience awful things. But generally, for most people, in everyday lives, in the organization, on your relationships most of the time. There is something that a lesson that you're supposed to learn from the experience, so everything comes from within, and as you start to change within, you start to notice that the external starts to change too. But we're doing it back to front, so we're trying to change the external and thinking things are going to change internal. No, you're not going to. Your depression is not going to stop, your anxiety is not going to stop by changing external. That will stop when you learn about you.
Absolutely. Brilliantly said. That's so true. And we all have to do it. I mean, this is a revolution. It's the time now. AI is here. I believe AI has come at this time, although it's been around for years, but under wraps. But it's now emerged because we have to get down to getting back to our authenticity and to our roots and to our miraculous body. I mean, imagine these muscles can display these complex states automatically. We don't do it. So what is driving that? What is driving those authentic expressions? Only answer: the spirit, the human spirit, the human energy. And the system is so brilliantly created. The whole body is a miracle, really. When you start to look in depth at it, it's miraculous. And so we're at this stage now where it is exactly the right time for us to delve into this and start to get to know ourselves and start to relax and become much happier. So it's very exciting, and if we can spread this far and wide, I think we are spearheading a really important revolution, the next step. So along with the crumbling of the 9-to-5 grind and all of the other systems that we outsource everything to, we're now coming into the era of digital dominance and also personal economy. So all of this is tied up with how we can get out there and we can make an income for ourselves. We don't have to depend on employers and become resentful because we're working for somebody else and neglecting our own lives. The 9-to-5 grind is on the out. So to me, it's the most brilliant time to get this work out there, so that we can each take a little time in every day to get to know each other, or to get to know ourselves, so that we can better know others.
Yes.
If you have, they all work that way. Self-compassion. If you're self-compassionate, then you are automatically compassionate for others. If you're self-trusting, then you automatically show that trust, But if you're not, and that's what I'm seeing all around me, people don't trust themselves, with imposter syndrome, burnout, etc., then you're giving very strange messages. Yeah. So it's really fascinating. We've gone over time. Oh, sorry, I'm sure you've got your weekend planned out. But we've got through a lot this session because it's a kind of ENSA protocol, because we've each been very calmly sharing the information, and nobody's frustrated. I hope you're not frustrated, Abby, are you?
No. Oh. I've learned so much. I really appreciate today's topic.
Oh, brilliant.
So much. I'll be more aware of my facial.
Good, great. So let's have just one parting question, one little question to round off the subject. What do you want to ask?
Me? What do I want to ask? I asked a lot of questions. So
You did.
so in terms of things like burnout, how would I? So yeah, I mean, the video talked about everything. So I'm just excited to learn more. I don't really have any questions because I think I
Okay.
asked
Okay.
go within.
Okay.
I couldn't find the video. Lied to me. I wish I could find it. I couldn't find it on.
Oh, really? Maybe it's not licensed in the UK. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I'll check it out anyway. Okay, well, if you don't have any questions, let me just finish by talking just for a moment about Lodestone. So with all of this background that I have in nonverbal communication, in Buddhist studies, in indigenous wisdom, blah, 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 then I have created Lodestone One, which is a 30-day product. I've also created a 30-minute recalibration session, which Ebby has really experienced. And I'm working with people with that quite often. And all of these products, and there are lots more to come. I've produced the AI Mirror, which is a 5-day, 6-day program to get back in touch with yourself, and so on. There are many things I've done, and lots more to come. But basically, I think the components of these products and books and so on are really unusual combination. So we can find lots of people talking about embodiment, but they're usually very scientific. They are maybe practitioners, again, very rigid and structured scientific work, you know, like with Reiki and so on. But I'm bringing something very different to this because of the spiritual element. Which I'm building in to all the products so that we become more spiritually aware as well as everything else. So Lodestone, no, not Lodestoners, YouTubers and LinkedIn people, if you'd like to know more about the products, the Lodestone products, please contact me, DM me, and I'll gladly tell you more. And do join us. We're here every Friday, same time, same place, 12 noon GM, no, 8 a.m. GMT. Sorry, a bit confused today. Yeah, come and join us. You can join us in the studio, and you can be a spectator, whatever you like. So let us know if you'd like to do that. We'll give you the link. So, Ebby, thanks so much for coming. It's great to see you always, and we learn such a lot together. And next week, we'll continue on and examine more about facial and head expression. And I'd also want to introduce you to the head, neck, upper back relationship, because this is primary control of your body. Most people don't have it because they're so tense. Their necks are so locked because they're staring at screens all the time. But if you're truly flexible, then this is the relationship that needs the most work. So we'll talk more about that next week. Okay, my dear, thanks so much. And I'll see you very soon. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
You too.
So thanks so much for that, Ebby. And I hope it was interesting. If you're out there watching, there's a lot more to come. It's a vast subject, and I have to make it palatable for you. But you'll see this work coming into everything in the next decade, because this is our next step as human beings. Thanks so much. So let me check to see if we've got any comments here. I don't think we've got any comments today. Oh, no, we haven't got any new comments. Okay. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next week, same time, same place. I'm Lyndon Thorpe. Comments, please leave them under the window.